You're watching BrainStormAcres. Hey friends, you may be wondering why I'm out here by this storage tank for water. It's at the south end of our greenhouse. Well, the reason is I'm going to be moving a propane tank out here as soon as it gets filled up. Let me show you. The propane cylinder on the left-hand side is a 30-pound tank. It holds about 7.1 gallons of propane, and at 20 degrees, it can't sustain a 30,000 BTU heater when the tank gets about half full. The tank on the right is a 100-pound cylinder. It will easily handle a 30,000 BTU heater down to about 1 gallon of propane left in the tank. Now, I had quite a few questions about exactly why I was doing what I was doing as a result of the last video. So I'm going to try to answer some of those questions today. First of all, if you're going to do a permanent installation, there's some very specific rules you have to follow. You need iron piping to run propane from the tank to your appliance. Now, what I've done here is a temporary installation. I'm using a 5-gallon propane tank. This is commonly used for barbecues. It has a regulator and a rubber hose. The rubber hose brings the propane to the heater. Now, what I'm doing here is not exactly safe. Don't do it this way. I'm doing it knowing full well what the issues are. This tank is too small to provide propane for a 30,000 BTU heater. There are two things that can go wrong with this tank to feed this heater. First, if you have a propane leak, this has an open flame. You could set a fire. You could have an explosion. I don't want either of those things. I regularly check this regulator and the fittings to make sure there's no propane leak. The other thing is, the reason why I have this tank inside the greenhouse right now is because we've had really cold temperatures. And the way that propane works is the propane boils off. The propane is actually liquid propane in the cylinder, but you only use gas in the heater. What happens is the difference in pressure between inside the tank and the propane appliance causes the vapor to boil out of the liquid. Well, when it's really cold, it doesn't boil as readily, which then means you starve the appliance. And in the case of this 30,000 BTU heater, it will shut off because there's not enough propane going to the heater. So that's why I'm doing it. Don't do it. It's not safe. The other thing that I'm doing is this is a temporary installation. Because it's temporary, I can get away with this regulator and this hose. Now, as soon as I have my 20-gallon tank filled, I'm going to put it outside the greenhouse, right behind this wall. I'll still use a flexible hose to hook it up. That will keep it being a temporary installation. Depending on your greenhouse, you may need outside makeup air. Permanent installation of propane-powered equipment requires a lot of piping and shutoffs. This is part of the way to make a permanent installation for a propane appliance.
Hello, this is Irene with BrainStormAcres, and I am here with Jack. And as is traditional, it's about a little after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which means it's time to shut the greenhouse down and make sure everything's set for the evening. So what I do every afternoon is I have a timer set on my phone so that I remember the time, because a lot of times I'm working on something else. And I try and get in here about this time because this is the time when it starts to really cool down a lot of times outside. So I checked everything to make sure that nothing is too dried out. I did water some yesterday, so we're still fine. But I check everything to make sure nobody's dry. I also peek at things like I've got this magnificent cucumber here that is growing beautifully. and his little brother over here. I pick lettuce at this time of night a lot of times for dinner. And Henry and I just had the conversation about what we'll be having for vegetable for dinner, and lettuce is the answer. We'll have a salad. Anyway, I asked Henry if he had showed anybody this little miracle that occurred over here. So let me get the camera and I will show you the miracle, because he said no, he forgot about it. Now, you remember these. These are the dead Dutch buckets. They froze to death when we had 15-degree weather. Now, this is a happy cucumber, not cucumber. I keep calling a silly thing a cucumber. It's a happy cantaloupe. It's going to be interesting to see if it'll set fruit. I mean, we have a few bugs in here, not many. A couple of flies get in once in a while. This is a cucumber, and I keep waiting to see if he gets any new cucumber buddies in here. But here's our miracle. You will notice that this plant is not dead. It's a red delicious tomato. It has sprouted back from the root. So now we're going to have to decide what we're going to do with him. I'm thinking he'll come out of there, because we're not going to start the Dutch buckets up just for one tomato. And all the other ones appear to be really, really dead. But this guy, like I say, he came back from the root. So here he is. We'll have to take him out of there and put him in dirt, I guess. Other than that, everybody else is doing pretty well. Tomatoes, cabbage, pak choy, onions, leeks. So even the little leeks, the little cabbages and stuff that really got crunched, this little pak choy back there, you'll notice he's growing some leaves now, and he was a little stick, but he had a little bit of green to his stick, so I decided, hey, give it a shot. So when I transplanted up the stuff, then there's a couple of them I had my doubts about this guy, but you never can tell. There's a couple of new leaves on there, so see what happens. I realized I told a sort of an incomplete story about shutting the greenhouse. I do a couple of things. I make sure that this side is completely closed in terms of the vent on this thing, and this side is still open, but it's narrowed down a little bit. The prevailing wind comes from the south, and this is the south wall of the greenhouse. So what I'm trying to do is I want some air, but I don't want a really bad draft. And it does not appear to be on, so now I need to check everything else. Nobody closed this. Nope, it is open. However, I think that's empty. Okay, so that means I need to tell Henry that is empty, because I think we have some gas somewhere else. But that's what I do every night. I check to make sure that the pilot light is on here and that there's gas left that I think it will make through the night. So the answer is no, there isn't. Jack is busy cleaning his feet because he got full of dirt this afternoon, which was not a great plan. But he is a dog, so I expect lots of not great plans sometimes. One of the things I like about picking the lettuce this way is that the first time you pick it, the bottom leaves have been in contact with the dirt. So they can be a little hard to clean them. But after you've picked them a couple of times, none of the leaves you pick them are on the dirt at all. So it's really clean, and it's super easy to prepare for a salad. So it's kind of neat. Grow some salad of your own. Even if I only had a big pot, I could grow salad. I know people who grow herbs and stuff in their kitchen windows. That's a good start. So try growing lettuce. It might work. Until next time, bye.
Bye.
Hi.
Woo woo.
Woo.